my name is Sam and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today it's time to continue talking about Pride season by talking about London Pride, which is where I live. I live in London. After talking about Gran Canaria Pride, Sitges Pride, it's time to take it back home and I'll tell you all about what happened here. Before we start, it would be amazing if you could like this video and subscribe to my channel down below, and also leave a little comment if you want, related to the video, related to your Pride experience, related to your London Pride experience as well, or even just a smiley face, just because it helps the channel and me a lot. Thank you. Pride month is over. Pride month is June, and usually in London we celebrate Pride at the very beginning of July, if I remember correctly, but this year we celebrated it on Saturday the 29th of June. I'm filming on Tuesday the 2nd of July now, so I'm just fresh from Pride. I'm a singing drag queen, so I was working a lot, so my experience of London Pride is a little bit different from any other normal civilian. But yes, let's dive right in. As I've mentioned in a couple of videos before, specifically the ones about the other prides I went to, I don't particularly find London Pride exhilarating as an audience. As a performer it's different, but as an audience I have to say it's not my favourite. I haven't really seen many prides other than all the new ones that I've seen this year, but I can already see a difference. Now, London Pride is busy. It's packed with people. Oh gosh, I'm pretty sure that not just people from London or people that live in London. I'm sure people travel from far to get here. In fact, I know for a fact that this year there were a lot of foreigners who came to London as tourists, and they also took the chance to incorporate Pride into their holiday as well. It's packed with people, and I love crowded places. I love so Soho is the gay area in central London. I love how packed to the rafters it is, but it gets to a point where it's almost a bit too busy even for me. Not Soho necessarily, but around the parade. So like in most prides there is a parade, and it's very, very carefully structured, and although the parade is potentially the most important part of Pride, because we now celebrate Pride as in a sort of party kind of way, but technically Pride is a protest. And I have to say, in Gran Canaria, in Sitges, you have a lot of very colourful floats and a lot of great music coming from all these floats, and it's an amazing party. London, from the very little that I remember as an audience member, it's a little bit less of a party parade. It does have more of a ever so slightly a stronger feeling of a protest, because it's less fun. Now, I don't know whether that's done on purpose or not, but again, I haven't actually seen the parade for a few years, because now every Pride I work the whole day, but I caught a few glimpses of it to this year, and it was the same as the years before. So it is so busy that obviously they block off the route of the parade. I never really know where it starts, but I think it starts from Hyde Park and it ends in Trafalgar Square, around there. But don't quote me 100% on that. But the parade definitely goes through that area. And my friend the other day told me that he feels that this year they reduced the length of the parade, that they've shortened it. I don't know if it's true, but he was marching and he said that he felt like he didn't walk as much as the previous years. So they have barriers to make sure that nobody goes into the street, and that's already something different from Gran Canaria or Sitges. Obviously the parades there are smaller in terms of attendees, but there is no separation between the audience and the floats. Obviously you need to let them through, but you can join in, you can follow them, whereas in London you physically can't, even if you wanted to, because you have barriers. And what I remember is that people, they go there very early to make sure that they get a good spot, because then once you're in, once you're there against the barrier, you can't really move, and if you do, then you will lose your spot, and it will take you a long time to get out of the crowd, if you need to pee, for example, and then you will lose your spot, unless you have a friend that stays there and saves it for you. So you have all these people, like sardines against the barriers and watching the parade. And if you want to cross the street, for example, you can't just obviously cross it because you have barriers. What they do, because the parade is fairly long, they let 3 or 4 floats drive past, and then they pause the parade. They open some barriers at specific points and spots, and they let you through for like 5 minutes, then they close it all again, and then they let a few more floats go. So going from one side of the street to the other can be very difficult. I remember last year or the year before, I was performing and I had to run from one venue to another, and one of these changes of venues happened still during the parade, and I just wanted to go from this side of the street to the other, and I couldn't, so I had to walk all the way back and around to find the first spot where the parade wasn't going, and so I could just simply cross. So if you're in a rush, you need to time it well, so you need to be careful with that. And why don't I like the parade? It's not that I don't. I find it boring in comparison to the other parades I've seen. The biggest complaint that everyone makes about the London parade is that it's very corporate. What does that mean? You have all the biggest companies, all the biggest banks parading. I don't really know. I think you need to apply to be part of the parade, and I'm not entirely sure, but you might also have to pay something to be part of the parade. Don't quote me on that. And you have all your bigger, all your big banks, Lloyds and Barclays, and then you have all sorts of other corporate realities. You have Starbucks and Tesco and all of that. What most people accuse these big corporations of is basically pinkwashing. So they say that it's just a very easy way to show fake support for the LGBT community. Now, I have to say that I don't see anything inherently wrong with these companies parading, because yes, as I've said in my video about Pride as a concept, the Pride Day as a party or a protest means nothing to me. I don't care if people parade, or if even people go to the parade, or even if they turn up to celebrate. The support for any cause, not just the LGBT community, is shown every day throughout the year. It's not just that one day that makes a difference. But if they want to show their support however they can in a parade, why not? As long as they do more stuff during the year. So I don't see anything ethically and morally wrong with that. Obviously there is advertising and publicity involved, but again, they don't hurt anyone. So yes, but what I find less entertaining than other prides is that, in comparison to the big carnivalesque floats that you have in Gran Canaria or Sitges, well, you don't have anything like that here. From the very little that I remember from when I was still a civilian, and from the very little that I saw this year, there's nothing, again, carnivalesque about it. It's mainly people marching, literally marching, holding, flags and all sorts of signs, and it's a very positive and nice atmosphere. Don't get me wrong, there is no negativity in the air. Everyone is very, but the people in the parade, they look happy to be in it at least, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. Everyone is there for a good cause, so there is nothing wrong, nothing negative about it, but it's just not fun, because I think, from what I remember, mainly you don't have decorated floats, you have trucks that have to physically, carry some signs or some people that are on the trucks, but there is nothing, again, party-like about it. There is music, and depending on the group that are parading, you have different, apart from the banks and all the the Starbucks and all of that, you also have smaller groups. For example, I'm part of a dance group here in London, and I didn't parade because I was busy, but they paraded, and it's not corporate, it's just a group of people. So we meet, well, now the group has expanded, so they basically meet every day of the week just to do a dance class. It's commercial pop, it's very gay. It's amateur, there are no competitions to take part in, so they just parade to show their support, and again, they gain nothing from it, and they might even have to pay to be in the parade, and it's great because they perform. So while they walk, they also have a couple of routines that they do every now and then. Now, I don't really know the ins and outs because I've never had the chance to see them parade. So yes, that is a bit more entertaining. Then you have all sorts of different sports groups. My friend is part of a gay rugby group, and they were parading as well. No, I don't think they did any acrobatics or anything like that, but again, there is nothing corporate in that. So you have a lot of these groups, and it's brilliant to see all of these people coming together. It's also nice to see them before the parade starts. These people, now I don't really know how it works, but as far as I know, you get allocated a specific time of when you will start parading, because they want to space all these groups out so they can let people cross the street, and also so there is some kind of order to the whole day, because it's a lot of people and groups and companies that want to parade, but then you need to meet beforehand to get everything ready. Some groups have music, like my dance group, so they need to organise that, and there is a lot of preparation that goes into parading. I know it, at the end of the day, it's just walking from A to B, but the way it's organised is quite accurate and very well thought out. And so they meet beforehand, and I think, like my dance group, I think they were one of the first groups to parade, so they met at 10 a.m. to then start parading I no, maybe not 11, because to be honest, I don't even know what time the parade started, and I don't think it's 11. Maybe it was 1. But anyway, they were one of the first groups to parade. But they met quite early. It's a Saturday. They had to be there at 10. And I also think they rehearsed a little bit. So there was a lot of preparation, but it's nice to see all the anticipation in the air. It's brilliant. Then you have the parade, and while that is happening, obviously all sorts of entertainment is happening elsewhere. We have different stages across mainly Soho. Well, the main stage is in Trafalgar Square, which if you've ever seen Trafalgar Square, it's a square in front of the National Gallery, but we use it for a lot of events. So where you have the two fountains and then the obelisk, the bit by the obelisk basically is where a stage is put up. So they build it from scratch every time there is a show or some kind of event, and we do all sorts of events, not always gay related events, and that's where the main stage is. But then you have a few scattered around Soho, and on these stages you have performers all day long basically. Now, in the past, the main stage in Trafalgar Square used to have at least one very big main act, a very big headline. This year I didn't see anything. I only read the names, but none of them really stood out as a big celebrity or a big singer. But maybe they are, and they are a bit too modern for me, so I wouldn't really know who these people are. Usually my dance group performs on one of the stages, but this year apparently they weren't asked to perform, because it's all, as far as I can tell, it's all for free. So you parade for free, and if they ask you to perform on any of the stages, it's for free. But it's great for the atmosphere. As a performer, it's a brilliant atmosphere, and also it's good exposure. But yeah, this year they were not asked to perform, which is a shame, because obviously the little routine that they had during the parade is nothing compared to a full-blown dance piece, and they are so full of life and joy when they perform. It's amazing to watch, and I always cry, because I used to attend quite often. I started before COVID, but now, because I'm a drag queen, I don't really have the time to go as often as I would like to. So the last time I went was 2 or 3 months ago. So now there are a lot of new people that every time I go there are new people, and because now they are the regulars, they think I'm new. But it's weird because I don't know any of them, but technically I am one of the originals. But yeah, I've never performed with them on stage, because you need to be part of the performance group within that group. But it's always great to see them, and every time they perform, I cry. It gets me every time. It's nothing. The kind of dances they do is not tragic, or is not meant to bring you to tears. They don't want you to cry. It's very gay pop music, very gay commercial, modern dance routines, but because of the energy and the passion that they put into it, it brings me to tears every time, which is terrible, because if it's Pride, I am covered in makeup and I can't cry. So every time I watch them at Pride, I have to tilt my head back to fight the tears, because I can't ruin my makeup. And so you have stages like that, and then if you go to Soho proper, where a lot of the gay bars are, it's carnage in a nice way. I mean, the streets are packed. I mean, I can't quite describe, they're just swarming with people that don't even look like people anymore. They just look like insects. There are so many of them, so many of us. It's insane. And the venues that do drag regularly, they do it on Pride Day as well, the whole day. And you see people going in and out of these venues to get a drink, and then they go back onto the streets. It's amazing. I love how people come together, but if you have to walk from A to B, you need to factor in a lot of time because you just can't move. It's just as simple as that. It's pure physics. You just can't pierce your way through the crowd, because that's what you have to do. So if you're lucky, you will get to where you have to go, but don't count on that. Now, the problem with this specific Pride, because it's so busy and it's so hard to move once you are in it, is that it's hard to find friends. So what is usually recommended is that if you want to be with friends, especially a big group, you should start as a group. So you should meet, I don't know, if the plan is to go to Central London at 1, you should meet at 12:30 close to Central London, and then you go together. Because the minute you say, oh, I'll be here, I'll be there, let's meet, it will never happen. Because first of all, there is no signal in Central London anymore, in Soho, because the internet is jammed, so you can't even communicate, and there's just too many people, and it just doesn't work. So you need to take that into consideration. So if you want to be with friends, you need to have a plan. Some people don't really like doing that. Some people prefer just going into Central, and then if they know, well, if they're part of the Soho community, they know that they will bump into a lot of people that they know. So that's what some people do. They just go from one pub to another, from one street to another, and they just have a little catch up with whoever they bump into. It just depends on what someone wants to do and how they want to experience Pride. But yes, it's hard to keep in touch and to find people unless you decide to meet outside the city centre proper. But I used to like that. When I didn't perform, I used to like being in Soho with all these people, and weirdly I always bumped into people that I knew, especially this one friend who we don't really see each other that often during the year, but every Pride we always managed to bump into each other, and it was not planned at all, it just happened. That's really nice. Now, I think the parade ends usually at 6, 7, if not a bit earlier. So it's a long time for the whole parade to be going on for. But your specific group, I don't know. I think my friend told me it lasted an hour and a half for him. But in the past, I've had a lot of complaints about how the parade is always late and you have to stand in the sun for long hours before you even start parading. So obviously, it's a big event, so you need to go there knowing that there will be delays and there will be things that are not, there will be unexpected incidents and accidents and all of that. Things that haven't been factored into the whole plan. But it can be, well, apparently this year both my friend, my rugby friend and my dance group, they said that everything went very smoothly. I didn't hear any complaints about having to wait too long. But in the past, I've heard people express some concerns, but it's a first world problem. Also, it depends on the weather, because the summer in London can be very, very hot, and it's a long time to be standing there and then to be parading in the sun. And a lot of people dress up, they wear costumes, so it's hot. I would not want to be parading in that kind of weather. This year the weather was perfect, I think, for the event. It wasn't extremely sunny, which is also very good for us drag queens because we suffer a lot. It wasn't extremely sunny. It was overcast at times, but then it wasn't cold, so it was perfect for anyone parading, and even for the spectators, because obviously they need to stand there as well for hours and hours and hours, well, for as long as they want to, but it can take a long time to just watch the parade. And then in the evening what happens is that there are all sorts of parties. There are all sorts of, obviously, the regular drag venues, they keep the drag going, but you have also paid parties, and all sorts of parties happen all at the same time, and it's insane to see how many gay men exist. Now, during the parade and during the day, you don't just have the gays, you have all sorts of the whole LGBT community. You have the allies as well, you have families as well, which is very nice. But then obviously the parties are attended by the gay men. Surely there are things also for the lesbians, but obviously I wouldn't really know because it's not really my world. But the gays, and there are so many because all these parties are all sold out. I can't wrap my head around how many gay people exist only in London. I mean, and that's just London. We are everywhere. So yes, my rugby friend is a party animal. He went to a party. I think the party ended at 3, he left at 2, which is fairly early for him. But obviously he'd been parading and he'd had a full day. But yes, it's an intense day if you want to go all out. Now, this is what a civilian would see. For us drag queens, it's a little different because depending on how many bookings you have, you may be working all day long. Now, I was lucky enough that I was working all day long. My first show was at 2 p.m. and I finished at midnight because I had 4 shows in 4 different venues. I was supposed to do from 2 to 3:30 in a place close to where the parade was supposed to start, very close to Hyde Park, if you know the park, which is the most famous and the biggest park in London. And then I had to run to another venue in next to Trafalgar Square. So the first venue, I did a full show. It was supposed to be an hour and a half actually, but I did only an hour because the timing and the location was a bit weird. So that pub is very close to where the parade starts, and it's a perfect spot for people to meet at to get ready for the parade. So, yes, most of the people that were there, they started parading at 2. That I know for a fact. Now, I don't know if 2 is when the whole parade started or if it's only the time slot that those specific groups were given. So before 2 it was packed because obviously it's indoors, it's a big pub, people could get ready, we had a few banks there, we had the NHS, which is the National Health System. We had a group supporting MS, and I'm sure there were other groups as well that I didn't really get to talk to. And I did a full show. I opened, I was the first drag queen to perform. Now the problem was that up until 2, it was packed with all these people, but then the moment I started performing at 2, they left because they had to parade. So I don't know the management, I don't know what the management, I don't know the thought process behind having me start at 2, because when I started, I mean, the place was dead. There were a couple of strays that did not belong to the parade. Oh bless them. There were a couple. They had travelled from somewhere in England to come to London for the husband's birthday, but because they're a stray couple, they didn't know it was Pride, so they just randomly came to London as a little weekend getaway, and they got stuck at Pride. Bless them. They were fine with it, but obviously it's a bit of a shock. Never mind, the gays, but it's a lot of people, and it's a lot of managing of time and space that needs to be put into that day. So instead of finishing at 3:30, we decided I should finish at 3 because there was literally no one there, and also because I'm a singing queen, so I sing songs and then I interact with the audience, but these people just wanted to talk, so even me just singing was distracting them. They did not look pleased because they just wanted to talk. Then I got paid for that. That was a full show. Now, what happens in the main central venues is that they do 15-minute slots for all of us drag queens. So they call most of the drag queens that are there during the year performing regularly. Then we do 15 minutes and then we leave. And the idea is that you go from one pub to another. And these are not paid, but you do it for, it's great fun. Also, depending on the venue, you do it for loyalty or for exposure. If you're a new queen, it's great to be asked to perform in these venues. In fact, it never really happens because they just stick to their regulars. It's a great opportunity. So I did a 15-minute slot in one of these venues next to Trafalgar Square. And it was amazing. And outside, my show was at 4:30, and it was so busy. And also, the venue that I performed at is one of the flagships of London's gay life, one of the biggest landmarks. There was already a queue to get into the venue, and it got to the point where it was one in, one out. Luckily I just skipped the queue because I was one of the celebrities performing, and it was amazing. It was 15 minutes. We got free drinks, full free drinks, but I don't drink. So and my friends randomly told me that they were there waiting for me, waiting for my show, but then they were not there, so I was going to give them my drinks, but they never showed up or I never saw them, so their loss. And then I had a bit of a break, and then I had another show from 7 to 9 in another venue, which is a straight venue where they were playing the football. And it was a bit weird because I performed there last year as well, and it's a nice venue, but people are there for the sport. And so the first hour I started from 7 to 8. It was great because there was no football on. But then when the football started at 8, I don't even remember who was playing. I lost the crowd because they just didn't care. But the first hour was brilliant, and my friends came to see me as well. It was really nice. And after that, I had to run to Greenwich. So I was in central London. I had to run to Greenwich in South London to do my final show from 11ish to midnight. And it was great. It was absolutely great. So yes, it was a full day of drag, but it's also nice that I had a little bit of a break between the second and the third show. And I have a bit of saucy gossip, and this reminds me that I will soon have to start talking about my dating life, because that's very funny for people to hear. On Friday, so this is before Pride, on Friday I went out because it was a friend's birthday, and I was in this pub, and this guy walked past me and did a triple take. He just went pum, 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 looking at me, and I am extremely shy when it comes to guys. I know I'm a drag queen, I know I'm a YouTuber, but I am extremely shy. But I decided to, since it made it very clear that he was interested, I decided to make the first move and I went to talk to him, and this guy is American and he was visiting, and I thought he had friends with him, but he was on his own and he was on his way out. I think he was leaving, but then I told him that downstairs there was a club that I thought we were going to as a group for the birthday, but we never actually did. So he went downstairs because I didn't want to leave my friend, also because I got there very late. He went downstairs and he came back upstairs a while later, and then he found me again, and then we started chatting, and so yes, I mean, we really hit it off then. The problem is that I work in these venues, and so this venue is in Soho. I work in these venues and I go to Soho a lot as a civilian, so everyone knows me. So I always get a little bit wary of doing things in public because everyone knows me. So, but we started kissing, and I was like, oh gosh, I will never live this down. All my friends will never let me forget this. And then, well, I left my friend there, and then I went off with this guy. And then the day after, on Pride Day, he came to see me at the second venue where I did a 15-minute slot, and then I spent that's where after that I had the 2-hour break. So we just spent it together. I mean, I was knackered and also I was in half drag, so we went to see the parade a little bit. That's when I saw the parade, and then we just sat by Trafalgar Square, and then he also came to the sports pub, and then I think he met other friends later on, so he didn't come to Greenwich, also because Greenwich is a bit far from the city centre. He was staying bang in the centre of London, very close to where Pride was happening. So yes, I had a bit of a romance as well, and then I saw him on Sunday too. Sunday evening, I was beat up. I was so tired that I couldn't even feel the tiredness anymore. But then because he left yesterday, Monday, I decided to go and spend just an hour with him in the evening from 10 to 11. But I'm happy I did it. Also because I did want to get out of the house. So yes, that's my Pride romance as well. So, I think I've told you literally everything that happened at Pride. If you've never been to London Pride, I would say do come, although I know that I haven't quite sold it because I keep saying that it's not the best, but it is an experience. It's a social experience for sure, just to see so many people come together. Again, that in itself is brilliant. What I don't particularly find exhilarating is the fact that there is no party feeling, but at the same time, to be honest, Pride is a protest, so I can also see how that fits into the whole concept. But yes, why not? And also, it's summer, so you can do other things after as well. And on that note, let me know in the comments if you've ever been to London Pride and what your thoughts on it are, and I will see you soon. Good night.